haven't got much time, so we have to work fast, okay? A couple of sighting laps, then we'll put the cameras in, and then we'll do a bit of recording. Amazing circuit, Monticello, really amazing. Lots of places that can go wrong, so be careful.
But first, some numbers. The RCF is, on paper, a confusing proposition. On the one hand, it offers a beautiful, normally aspirated 5-litre V8 pushing 478 horsepower and 391 foot-pounds of torque. The Germans are all going the turbocharged route, and Lexus is staying true to the church of high crank speeds. That has to be celebrated. But the RCF hides a slightly dirty secret. It's a very, very heavy machine. At 1,840 kilograms, it's 300 kilograms heavier than a BMW M4. So, does the purist V8 overcome the weight issue, and does the Lexus make BMW's move to turbocharging look ill-advised?
Oh, it's another one of those rush jobs, people. I've just done 2 laps of the amazing Monticello circuit, and now I've got to go out and do 2 more, and that will form my opinion of the RCF on a track. I don't know why we travel so far to spend so little time in these cars, but there we go. What can I tell you so far? Well, I hate to say this, but I was super excited about this car, having seen it on the motor show stands, and I love the styling of it. We wobbled up here on the roads, and it's a really pleasant thing. It's got elements of LFA in the cabin. It does feel special. But my first 2 laps on the track, sorry guys, I wasn't quite with it, because this car weighs 1,860 kilograms. Yes, it's got all the power from that 5-litre V8, but, you know, I've very recently been in things like the new M3 and M4, and frankly, I think they are the beginning of a new chapter, and this feels a bit like the end of an old chapter, normally aspirated, rear-wheel drive, but with that weight and the lack of torque, it doesn't feel that quick. It also feels quite big, it feels quite cumbersome, it doesn't want to change direction. So let's give it another go, see if we can find something in it that's a bit more positive, because at the moment I'm struggling a bit. I'm sorry, I came here wanting to love this car, but I'm not at the moment. We've got the clever torque vectoring diff in this car, which is very interesting and I have to say very effective, but a bit of me suspects that this car doesn't have a traction issue because it doesn't actually have that much torque and it weighs so much. But I've just got this sense of mass about it that I didn't have with the German equivalents, let's say. Brakes, not bad, but nothing compared to the ceramics that you can get on the German equivalents, frankly. Steering is nice, good speeds. We've got understeer coming out there. If we absolutely gun it, then the oversteer comes, but the balance is fundamentally a very safe front end push. Quite a nice amount of initial roll. I quite like that actually in a car because it gives you an idea of what's going on. The engine is a lovely thing, it sounds fantastic and it does rev out, but it just has got none of the urge of certainly the M3 and the M4. So let's string one together for the video. So down the hill, this place is fantastic. It's full of elevation and interest. Braking hard, brake pedal, not bad, but it's not super reassuring. And after 2 laps around here, just the sheer weight of this thing, it's kind of spent. We can get the back a little bit livelier here as well. So just mobilizing a bit, but again, where's the power, guys? It just doesn't feel that fast to me. Maybe we're getting spoiled with all of this new stuff. Of course, we can sort of chuck it in a bit and that will liven it up. Then we can liven it up a bit there. But even so, I'm not entirely convinced that it's that exciting. I effectively have to yob the car to make it do it. So it's not that adjustable. The benefits of being front-engined rear-wheel drive is to give you that adjustability, isn't it? And actually, unless you excite the car in a fairly unnatural, rude manner, you don't have that adjustability. Through this section here, I mean, the front-end push is just having to back the thing right back. Gearbox, fast, I'll give you that. I think they've done a good job with this as a balance of an on-road automatic transmission that can then shift gears. Shifts are fast. I love the cabin. I love what's going on with the dash as I'm shifting up and down. I think that's really interesting. But the actual performance of the car, sorry, the more I drive it on track, the more I think, actually, this thing is a bit off the pace compared to the new BMW. Yeah, it's just a sort of slightly uninspiring thing. And the key question I suppose we have to answer is, does this thing have that sort of nugget of LFA DNA that we wanted it to have? I think in its styling, and I think in its cabin, and I think in its noise, yes it does. But the driving experience, sorry, it's just not quite there for me. And we're getting some brake fade already, which is, you know, frankly understandable given the weight that we're carrying around. I really wanted to think this car was the way the Japanese were going to duff up M and AMG, but I'm not convinced it is. No, well, maybe we should go on the road and try and make a case for it as a street car, because ultimately, who buys one of these things to go and hoon around on a track? And wouldn't you know it, the moment you get onto the public highway, the RCF makes a lot more sense than it did on the circuit. The reasons for that are quite simple. The mass doesn't matter quite so much because we're not putting as much pressure on the differential, on the front axle of the car, on the brakes. For starters, we can enjoy this beautiful cabin. I really like it because I quite like that Japanese technical, funky thing. Neil hates it, but then he's wrong about that. He says it's 1997 all over again, but I love this high center console. I love the rake of that slab there. I just think it's cool. And you know what? It's not German looking. Now, I'm not a xenophobe. I'm a massive German car fan, to the point where I'm accused of being what some people call a shrill for the Germans, but I'm not. Genuinely, I'm not. And I think this marketplace really needs something that's not AMG, that's not M, that's not Audi RS. And on the road, this car might just fill that role. So come back to it, that slight laziness on the circuit means it's got a bit of body roll on the road, which I like. The ride is not too harsh. The steering is nice and direct. The car feels about as alive as you'd want to for something that's a kind of more of a GT fast coupe. As I've said, I love the way the cabin looks, subjective the exterior, but I think it looks really, really funky. And both aspects, interior and exterior, give you that sense of being very much related to the LFA. Motor, well again, on the road you see, whereas it's a bit gutless on the track, you don't have those big open spaces to sap the sense of performance. On the road, what you end up with is that kind of noise, so sensational noise, but you don't have that instant crushing pace you have in a C63 507 or an M3 M4. It's just not quite there. In that respect, it's more like the Audi RS4, but then that's a car I've criticised for being a bit gutless, so I can't really alter that here. Transmission, pretty good. 8-speed automatic, it blips well enough. Not as immediate as the DCT, certainly better than the Mercedes transmission, probably about on a par with the Audi. I'd say the BMW is the best of the bunch. But it comes back to mass for me. Why does this car have to weigh 1,860 kilograms? It just seemed batty. I mean, that's enormous. Looking back, that's more than an E39 M5 was back in the day, and that's a whole bigger class of car. I suppose if I was being really harsh, it feels like Lexus is half a generation behind, that the others have moved on to a newer, lighter, forced induction place, which some people don't like because of the forced induction, but there's no doubt about how devastating the results of that are in performance terms, and this car is a peg back. But it's not German. It has that Japanese, almost manga style look to it, and a feeling of being something quite other, and I think that's really important and really appealing. It has the noise, it has this wonderful dashboard that you can have a poke around now for some of Neil's shots. So it's a curious blend of things. I would say that if I bought an RCF, I wouldn't go anywhere near a track in it because there's no point. But I'd really enjoy it on the road and I'd celebrate it for what it is. Is that a sort of charity verdict? When I drove it on the circuit, I thought it might be. On the road, this car certainly has a place. Very, very appealing, and a character all of its own. I just wish that dynamically it was 1 or 2 rungs further up, that's all. Otherwise, I also have a suspicion that this is a grower. This is a car that in a week you'd find more things to love about it. In a month you might really like it, and after a 6-month period of living with it, you might really not regret having bought one of the others. But I suppose time will tell.